Hello everyone, my name is MansaMusa and welcome back to my channel, and today we're back with another video in Advanced Wars by Web, and today we're back with a replay analysis video. I know we've been doing a lot of Com Tower podcast episodes recently, and we still have plenty of those planned for the future. I've really enjoyed that series, doing that with Humida. I think we have two really exciting guests coming up, so stay tuned for that. But we're taking it back to the replay analysis video format for today. And the observer among you will notice in the top right, I have a game here, myself against Hudge, which is actually a rematch of the very first video I ever posted on this channel. In that match, I think I was like an 1100 or something, and Hudge was around 1350 at the time, so it was a match where I was very heavily outnumbered or out-elo'd in that game, and Hudge beat me pretty handily in a Von Bolt versus Hawk matchup. But we have our little revenge match here. This actually took place in the Quack Cup 4, I believe, which is the a tournament on the Advanced Wars by website. The Quack Cup is known for kind of having wacky settings or wacky rules, which differentiates it from a lot of the other tournaments that are hosted on the site. And the main kind of shtick for this tournament was that we were doing tag CEOs. So as you'll notice here in the top right, I am both Von Bolt and Jess, as well as Hudge. Those were kind of the meta picks somewhat for this map. It was a tier 1 and tier 4 grouping, so tier 1 obviously being Von Bolt, tier 4 being Jess. And like I said, you don't really see tag CEO matchups a lot in really any other format on Advanced Wars by Web, so this was very unique. But it does provide a lot of very interesting mechanics that you can kind of do. So a main play here that you'll see is you're pretty much going to be Von Bolt the entire time. You're going to get all the way up to your Ex Machina, and then once you pop it, you're most likely going to be switching to Jess because she will have both her power and superpower pretty much ready at that point, so you can then pop Jess's Scop, which will then give her extra movement, which then will be even more devastating against the Ex Machina player because they'll have their units stuck in place at that time. So it is a really good matchup for this type of map and for the settings that we have here, so it was kind of the meta pick for this game. The map itself is being played here on Mists of Avalorn. It is a classic high funds map. I think it was created by Voice of Akasha, I believe, and it's an S-ranked map, one of the most well-known high funds map, like I said earlier. So a really exciting map to have here in the tournament as well. With all that being said, let's hop right into this match, MansaMusa versus Hudge on Mists of Avalorn. So we start the first few turns here with just our classic infantry builds. Not much is going to happen. You do have some interesting decisions to make in the capture phase here with these infantry on the bottom left for me. The main interesting choice you have is setting this infantry up. You can delay getting this city to try to put pressure on these two cities. That's something that I see a lot of players go for. And then also the other interesting moment that you'll have is this infantry here is going to be capturing the port and the decision whether or not to build a black boat. So you'll see both of those decisions happening here as we continue on for the first few turns. This infantry almost always goes up to capture these three cities first. These cities down here in the south are a little bit less contested for the black hole player, so they normally get captured a bit later, going for the more contested ones over here. I didn't talk about this as much when I was introing the map, but you do have this kind of 2 base versus 1 base dynamic here for both players, and it is in a mixed base format. So what this kind of means is that this base, the solo base here, is going to be pretty weak. Eventually the 2 base is going to try to overrun it, especially if the White Nova player here can get this airport. So if they send a black boat over here coming down through the shoals and get this airport, they can put a lot of pressure here from these 2 bases, the airport, and even troops coming from the solo base and wrapping around, and this base can quickly fall. So that's something that you'll see a lot of times on this map, and we'll have to see how it works out in this game against Hudge. Hopefully I can get my revenge. But we go here to day 3 for Hudge. We just have some more infantry captures. This is also, like I said, a high funds match, so you're not going to necessarily see as many tanks early. You're going to see 1 or 2 tanks definitely early on, but you also see more artillery. Generally, those are more better longer into the game, and also you'll see a Neo tank tech up relatively quick. So I do go ahead and decide to build a black boat from the port here. This is an interesting decision. A lot of times at very high level play, in this matchup, I was around 1250 to 1300 at this point against Hudge, and Hudge, I believe, was just over 1300. I'll pull up the profile somewhere, probably in the intro, so you'll know the exact elos. But yeah, very strong players, and generally against some of the stronger players, this black boat build is actually not as good because they're going to be able to defend it well. And really, the only way you have to defend it is just by getting these infantry out here towards the center, start capturing the city, and then just using them as blockers because there's all of these choke point tiles here that I'm highlighting. And when you have those choke point tiles, it can really easily block this black boat from ever coming to capture this airport, and then sometimes the black boat will redirect to go to this island, 2 cities, and capture them instead. So there is a lot of versatility for this black boat, but if Hudge knows what he's doing, he should be able to deny it decently well. Over here on my side, I also build the first vehicle of the game for myself. Go ahead and build an artillery. Like I said, tanks are going to be not as viable in high funds. Obviously, they're still good units. You can still build them, but I think artillery do have a bit more usefulness later into the game, so I like building them a bit more in the high funds format. We go here though to Hudge. We'll see the first vehicle he builds. He does decide to build an artillery here, same as me. On the left, we'll see if he uses that to help target any potential black boat coming into this area, and he builds a tank over here on his solo base side. I think he also had the funding curve for another tank up here. So yeah, by not going for the black boat immediately, I guess I'm one turn ahead of him on the capture there of the port. He was able to get out 3 vehicles from my 1, so he definitely does have a bit of a unit count advantage here at the start of the game. Go ahead and capture the comm tower down here in the bottom right. Go for some more contested caps over there. Bring out my artillery here. I don't really have a lot of goals here. I can put the artillery here on the silo and hit the infantry after it's finished capturing. Obviously, it won't interrupt the cap, but it'll stop it capturing or slow down the captures over here in the 2 rightward cities. Additionally, I could get a little bit aggressive with the artillery in the next turn if I want, sit it on the city itself, and potentially be pointing at this city over here. So I do go ahead and bring up my infantry. Very important here, I'm not going to put this infantry in range of the infantry capturing here on the city. Yes, he would have to break up his own capture on the city to hit this infantry, but it is very important. I want a healthy infantry because I want to eventually go capture this airport. So if I'm, transporting like a 2 HP infantry, it's really going to slow down this capture. So I don't want to risk that at all. I go ahead and build a tank on my right side to address the tank and artillery build by Hudge, and I pass it back to his turn. Hudge continues his captures here in the contested area, also trying to get some of the northern ones from his perspective that are a little bit less contested. Now, interestingly, he did not bring this infantry forward to contest this city, which means I can actually capture it on the next turn. These 2 cities, especially this one, are actually pretty contested on this map. So by going for this positioning here, he's allowing me to capture this city, and the only way he can break it up is to break his own capture to interrupt, and he may actually do that. It might actually be the best play for that, and just bring a future infantry to capture the city later on, but he's kind of putting himself in slightly bad positioning here by doing that. Hudge also decides to build a black boat. Now, it's a little bit delayed from my black boat build, and that's actually going to be very important in kind of the course of this game, so keep an eye on that. I think I built my black boat on day 3. Hudge is building his here on day 5, and while that may not sound like a lot of difference, it actually is. You can already see Hudge is building out his units here, the tank, the artillery, the infantry, to try to form some walls to get in the way of the black boat coming in. And I'm also going to have those units in this area. So this black boat's going to have a much harder time getting through this gap here to get to the airport than mine. In fact, I believe my black boat, has a free shot here to go all the way up the channel and to the airport right now, unless Hudge does something with his other units here. So he does go ahead and decide to do that, interrupting his own cap here on the city to go ahead and block my black boat. The range is not showing it clearly, but obviously it's going to be blocked here by this infantry. But I was anticipating this actually on this turn, which is why I built the tank. With this tank and this infantry, I'm going to be able to clear it off and then use my infantry and still ferry it over. Yes, I'm probably going to lose this tank and an infantry in the process, but I think when I was doing the calculus of this turn, I deemed that entirely worth it to try to get this airport. We see his tank roll out here to the left and start threatening these infantry. Because I neglected to build a tank earlier on, this tank is kind of getting some free space here. So I'm going to have to be careful with how I position my infantry, and obviously this tank can help interrupt the city as well on his next turn. I go ahead and make sure I capture the comm tower before going in for any engagements. Hit the full HP infantry on the shoal tile, knocking it down to 2 and clearing it off with this infantry, also putting it in range of the artillery, but again, this is kind of necessary. I believe, yes, so this tile I could have attacked from here, but then it's going to get hit by the tank, and it's not actually as good of an engagement for me, I believe. I was deciding which of these infantry to build with. Oh, okay, this is the main reason why. This infantry cannot go into the black boat this turn, so I have to use this infantry to clear, and then this one to go. That was the main consideration about why I didn't attack from this side. So I go ahead and do that, load the infantry into the black boat, and sit here. Yes, this black boat can get hit by the artillery, but it's not going to kill it. Even with if the tank attacks and the artillery attacks, and what is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, so this tank can attack. I calculated it. Even if all 3 of those things happen, it's still not going to kill the black boat, so I will get this city, the airport, to the next turn. I bring this infantry down to the south, threatening both this city and this city. Bring out this infantry to capture this one. Now this city here, you'll notice that Hudge is capturing it and I have not. This city's actually going to go neglected for a little bit. I kind of messed up my capture phase in that way, but we'll see how long it takes me to get that one. I do bring out my artillery here, getting a little bit aggressive because the tank is out of position of it. It is now threatening both of these infantry, can punish this one if it does decide to finish the cap. And generally just putting more pressure in this area. Over here on the left side, I decided to keep this infantry in range of the city, not going for it this turn, but bring the other infantry back, forming a wall here to make sure I get to this city. Pretty much doing as good as I could without the tank that I had in the area. I do go ahead and build a tank to protect all of these infantry. Move out another infantry, build another tank, go for the triple tank build actually this turn. I think, yeah, I had the funding for that safely. 4 tanks actually. Yeah, so I had the 28,000. Yeah, like I was saying, tanks are not that good on this map, right, Mansa? Or not good in high funds, and then I think I have 5 tanks out on day 6. So maybe I don't, maybe commentator MansaMusa doesn't know as much as in-game MansaMusa at the time. But he does go ahead and load in his infantry into the black boat here, gets a free hit on the artillery. It's not going to do much damage, but it does kind of, I guess, a little bit deflect the artillery and make it a little bit less good for me to actually go for this hit on my turn. He brings in the tank, gets the nice hit here, 8-5 on the city. I was sacrificing all this to make sure the black boat got through, so this was all fine. This was stuff I calculated. He does actually decide to go ahead and try to flip the city. This is going to be a pretty annoying attack, especially because he's going to bring the artillery in range to defend. But he did just give me a tank here, which I don't mind sacrificing in order to interrupt here. Does go ahead and decide to build the Neo tank. This is going to definitely force the artillery to back up. Generally, he's investing a lot in here to his one base side to try to get the black boat through, which is obviously the smart play here. The airports on this map are just ridiculously strong. They can go towards attacking this base, they can help defend this base. They really can go all over, and if you get your airport and your opponent doesn't, then they have to build anti-air and you don't, right? So it's a very important thing in this game. So Hudge is going for the black boat play down here and getting in this Neo tank and the tank to help confirm that process by backing up my units. So we keep on going here. He does bring in this artillery to defend the city and to kind of block off. This is actually really smart. He blocks off my infantry from being able to interrupt here as well, so I'm gonna have to commit other units if I want to stop this flip, potentially even stopping my own cap. So on my turn, I bring out my tanks here. I'm gonna take a kind of a defensive positioning here. Even though this is my 2 base side and this is his 1 base side, this would be like suicide to go in here and try to fight like this. So I just let my artillery get some range here, back up my tanks. Now, notably, he did back up his own tank here to provide some more coverage to get the black boat through, which is going to allow me to get this cap. Obviously, the infantry can help interrupt here, but I'm going to bring another infantry in, I believe, to help threaten that or punish that if he does go for that. So, yep, so I do bring that infantry over there. I build a tank here, and then I build a rockets on my turn. And this is actually a very important rockets. This is a very important part of the game. Generally, in my previous matches, I'm not a huge fan of rockets. You'll probably see that I do not build them a lot in pretty much any of my games, but I do decide to build one here. And I'm gonna pause here. So there was a very tactical moment with these rockets. If you can spot it from now or from in this 4 position, you are definitely a very high elo player. So you go ahead and take that puzzle, if you will. Pause. Why am I building this rockets? What's my idea with it? But for everyone else here, we'll get those guys back into the game. And I'll kind of explain my reasoning here. So my point of the rockets here is not to threaten the Neo tank. If you said that it was to threaten the Neo tank, -1 point. Who's keeping track? But yeah, -1 point. It's not to really apply pressure to any of these city caps. The main goal of this rocket is to sit it right here on the shoal tile. Once it's here on the shoal tile, it will actually be in range of the airport. So he's putting a lot of pressure here to try to get this black boat through. And if black boat does get through, it's actually really bad for me, right? Because he's going to get the airport, and that was kind of my main whole advantage here that I was going for in the north. I threw away a lot of unit value, potential city flips, a lot of positioning here in the north to try to get this airport. And if I just allow him to have this for basically free, I'm not going to get any value from this engagement. So I have to deny this in some way, and if I try doing what I talked about earlier, which is just blocking all these choke point tiles, it's going to go really badly for me because he has the Neo tank, he has the tank, he has the infantry. He can clear off pretty much anything I put on those to block, especially because you're going to be on bad terrain. So the rockets here are my answer. You'll notice that because these are 2 roads and a bunch of 1 movement terrain costs for tires, so that you have missile silos, labs all in here, the rocket actually has great movement on its first turn. It can get all the way to here, yes, put pressure on any infantry coming here, but that's kind of a bluff. That's not the main reason I'm doing it. And then on the next turn, get to the shoal tile and lock down the airport, and that'll be just in time. Because this black boat will come here on his next turn, I will get to this missile silo hero, and then he will drop off the infantry on the next turn after that. I will come to the shoal tile, and as he's capping, I will then hit the infantry on the airport. I did do all that calculations on this turn to make sure that was the correct order of things that will happen. So I'm going to be not denying that airport cap with this rocket. So we move on though. That was a very long-winded explanation for why I was building rockets, but I do think it's a very important tactical idea and something maybe that Hudge did not see at this time with his black boat build. I think he thought that because he had better income than me, because he had better engagements in the north, and because he had the Neo tank, he could just bully this black boat's way through. And that's very true. He can get the black boat through, but once he does, this rocket is going to be the thorn in its side, and it's notably something that Hudge could not do because I built my black boat earlier. Like, we're just getting the income available to us that we can start building rockets and go for this play. So yeah, he was not able to do this to interrupt my play that I did earlier on. That's the importance of building the day 3 black boat versus the day 5. I do go ahead and bring in my tank here to hit the artillery. Not going for the attack on the capping infantry. I am going to use this 5 HP tank to do that, to get the interrupt, build another tank here to both, what is that called? Unit overlap or protect these other tanks. I'm having a stroke here in this replay analysis, or I haven't done this in so long, I'm so rusty. But I go ahead and pass to my next turn, building 2 tanks and another infantry. He does decide to go for these 2 caps. Yes, I have this infantry in range to interrupt it, but I probably would like a little bit more firepower. I may still go for it though, depending on if he brings his tank to reinforce it. He brings this tank in actually to go ahead and get the nice hit on the city, 8-5 on my tank on the forest, and goes for the full kill there. Yes, this tank's in range though if I want to interrupt it, so this is kind of a better engagement for me because this is going to be 2 turns reinforcement to this city and forest here, where it's only 1 for me. He kills off my infantry here with his full HP infantry, brings his Neo tank here on the city. Yes, this is kind of continuing the ideas that we thought about previously, trying to get this black boat through, which he can actually do this turn. Yes, the artillery can hit it, but it's not going to super matter, but he's also just putting a lot of pressure in this area, forcing me to back up even further. So black boat does go ahead and get through. He brings out the city to capture this one here, or the infantry to capture the city here. Brings in a second Neo tank here to reinforce this area, and now this is I think a mistake by Hudge. I think at this point here in the match, if he had saw the idea with the rockets, I don't think he should be investing any further into this area, especially because I'm going kind of, what's that called? I'm going kind of indirect heavy, right? I'm building artilleries, I'm building the rockets coming in that can help really threaten this area and make his Neo tanks not as powerful, because I'm going to wall off with infantry and tanks and all these other units and then, you know, attack those units with the rockets. If Hudge was, I think, kind of seeing this a little bit better, I think he should have built some of the more of these bigger units from the 2 base here and put a lot of pressure on my single base before I can get the airport up. That would be kind of my main idea. Go for these flips here, go for all the flips in the contested area, and really make this one base really weak. Even sending the first Neo tank you built out maybe north and trying to go for this attack immediately instead of trying to escort this black boat here, which this whole idea of the black boat is just not going to work out. The rocket's going to be in time. So I think Hudge made a small mistake here on this turn, still going for this. As you see here, he does bring his tank and his Neo tank down south further to try to escort the black boat even further and put more pressure on this area. So I do get some more infantry caps. I put this infantry in range to finally get the city. It's been like 4 more turns than Hudge had to get that one. Bringing this tank to get a nice hit here on the shoals. Get another nice engagement. And just sit my tank here on the city, wiping off the infantry as well and allowing it to heal. Not actually going for any engagement on the tank because there's not going to be really a good one for me to go for, and he doesn't have a tank to reinforce to get another hit. Go ahead and start capturing the airport. Interrupt this capture here, 7-6 on the city because he didn't bring any tanks back to help reinforce it. Brings out these infantry, which are going to contest this area even more. Bring my artillery back, bring my rocket back, and like I said, I'm being very defensive here. If he wants to bring in his Neo tanks to get any hits, it's not going to be super successful for him. And I'm again bringing in this artillery and this rocket in range to interrupt the airport. I put my tanks in defensive positioning, build an artillery, just getting more indirects here to make the idea of attacking in even further not good, and making sure that I can get my rockets here to interrupt. That way they don't have to do an actual job of helping to defend this area. I build my Neo tank here on my strong side with my extra funds, or sorry, my weak side with my extra funds. This is going to be very helpful. He doesn't have any tech ups that we talked about previously in the area, so all of these tanks are going to really be under threats from this Neo tank, and he's probably going to have to back up here and not go for any of the contested cities, which is what he was really trying to do, I think, here, trying to get some flips in before I get the airport online. I find a nice cheeky move here, getting my black boat on the shoal tile, blocking the 8 HP tank on the city here. The range is not going to show this, but it now has nowhere to go, which means it's most likely going to fall to either this Neo tank or the tanks I have here on the city and the plane tile. He goes ahead and drops off his infantry on the airport, but like I said, it's not going to work. Goes for a nice hit here, 5-4 on the city, trying to get this within a few turns, but also at the same time making sure that he is going to take at least 2 more turns to capture, which is going to give my infantry in time to help to interrupt. Brings another infantry in here, potentially to join cap. It's a nice 8-1 hit here on the tank on the city, as well as a nice infantry hit here as well. Goes in to attack the black boat. I don't super understand the point of it. I mean, I guess this is just good positioning for the tank in general, and doing some damage to the black boat, also blocking it off from coming back through this channel. That would be a very strong play for this black boat if it could do that, because I could load another infantry and then go for the island cities. So he's trying to stop the escape route as well. Or I guess he was trying to do that, and he's actually just allowing me to escape now. Even if he puts an infantry here, I can just clear it and then get back. So he does do that, but I still think it'll be in my best interest to move the black boat out. We'll see what MansaMusa the past did, though. This I like. He's finally understanding, or no, I don't want to say finally understanding. Obviously, Hudge is a very strong player, but I think he is going for the right attack here by trying to attack this one base now. I think he's going to be sending more of his Neo tanks out. He's realizing I just have built a bunch of indirects here. It's not going to be viable to go in. Yeah, so he's sending both of his Neo tanks out now to try to target this one base. I like this a lot more. The only problem is he only has 2 infantry here to really do any flips, so as long as I can target fire those a little bit, it's going to be hard for him to get a lot of value out of this attack. He does decide actually to go ahead and build a second black boat. This black boat is obviously going to be going for the island city, so kind of having to invest twice into this is maybe a little bit dubious. I guess he realizes that I'm going to get my black boat out first, which means I'm going to get to this island cities before him if he does not build a second black boat, but he's investing a lot into this idea, and again, he's not even going to get the airport for it. So on my turn, I get a little bit more aggressive with my infantry positioning. Go ahead and move the rockets here on the shoal tile, which are now, that we talked about, in range to attack that infantry as it caps. Move a little bit further up. Build another artillery. Again, this may seem a little bit weird, like I'm building a bunch of indirects, and obviously the smart play against indirects, like Hudge is doing here, is just to move away. So you might be asking yourself, like, Mansa, why are you still trying to invest in this area with indirects and mortar? He's not going to attack in. That's true, but he also does have still a lot of good options, right? This Neo tank is still in range of all my infantry. So is this Neo tank. This one can come down further. If I get too aggressive with my positioning, he can really come right back and punish me with what I'm doing. So I do think this is the correct play. The second really big benefit of this is if I can get my Ex Machina before him, the Ex Machina is likely to land in the one base area. That's kind of where it hits a lot of the times when you're in this format. Or on this map, and if you can do that, having the artillery there is incredibly strong, because then it can wipe out pretty much all the units there that are paralyzed. You send your infantry in and you get a lot of caps. So that's what I was going for as well. Bring my Neo tank in and kill off the tank here on the plains. Get some nice hits here, clearing off the infantry. Notably that this Neo tank cannot reach my Neo tank here on the shoals. Bring in my tank to kill off the infantry that was blocking the black boat, bring the black boat down. I have this infantry here over here on these 2 tiles here. I have these infantry here to bring them over here on these tiles here. Great commentary. No, I'm going to bring this black boat over here on the shoal tile next turn and load in the infantry to bring it to the island. So we should get there actually at the same time. I bring some more infantry up, getting some nice positioning, claiming the good terrain of the forest to help interrupt this cap, and stopping the joint cap as well. Finally, bring in this infantry here to capture the city. Yes, this is in range of the Neo tank, but as you will see, I have decided to build a mega tank this turn, and this is a really, really strong play by myself. Obviously, 3 Neo tanks bearing down on your single base can be incredibly terrifying, but even with 3 Neo tanks, even with 1 healthy artillery, it's not going to matter. The mega tank is still going to be strong enough, especially because it is not immediately base locked this turn. It's still going to be able to move off, which means I can build another mega tank if necessary. This is really good defense against the kind of threat of going for the one base immediately, especially because next turn I can also bring some air units into the fray, whether that's a battlecopter, a bomber, really anything to help attack some of these Neo tanks coming in, which means he's going to have to start building anti-air, which he definitely does not want to do. We go here to Hudge's turn here on day 9. he loads in his infantry into the black belt like we talked about earlier, going for these island cities. Brings in more neo-tanks over here to continue the attack. We'll actually notice that this was a really bad mistake by myself. I forgot to talk about this on the previous turn. Obviously, this infantry here is within 2 turns of capturing this city or flipping this city, and I realized that coming in, so I didn't want him to come over here and get a nice attack from the mountain. So I put my infantry over here and also potentially to load it into the black belt like we were talking about earlier. But the problem with this is now this neo-tank is in range to attack this infantry and block this infantry off from having really any good tiles to help interrupt the city on the next turn. And that was just a pure mistake. I believe this infantry was actually on the city. What I should have done is just put it here on the forest. Here on the forest, there's literally nothing that can attack me. We have the 2 mountain tiles in front of it. It would have been perfectly safe, and it could have helped to interrupt the city flip if Hudge had gone for it on the previous turn, or sorry, any future turns. But by just doing this, I'm just sacking the infantry for no reason and allowing the city flip to go in much easier. So that was a pretty big mistake by myself, actually, and you can see he does decide to go for that. He clears off my infantry here on the forest, gets the command of the good terrain here with the 2 HP infantry, and decides to bring in this infantry to help capture. All pretty good infantry movements here by Hudge. Sorry, I missed. Yeah, so the artillery gets 1 HP here off the tank. Tank comes in, gets a nice 9-3 engagement with what was left of it, and he finishes it off with here with his 4 HP tank, and gets this artillery into nice positioning as well. We see we have the first anti-air build of the game. He has to do this now that I have the airport online. This is going to be my main advantage for pretty much the rest of the game. But we do see the first one built there, and we see another neo-tank built. So if we do some tank counts here, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 neo-tanks here for Hudge compared to my 0 neo-tanks and only 1 mega-tank. So this mega-tank is going to have to get very good value, or the bombers are going to have to come in. Or sorry, I do have 1 neo-tank. So 4 to 1 neo and 1 mega. So this is going to be a very tricky position to defend here. He decides to bring his other black belt back. Again, if he can get out, it'll probably be useful for him, but not as much because obviously he already built the other black belt to go for this island. Rockets do come in, get a nice hit here, 6 HP off the infantry on the airport. That's actually really important because if this rocket needs to do anything else on the next turn, this infantry won't cap. So that'll be a very strong advantage for me. I do believe that was a roll. It was a roll in my favor. It's probably like an 80% roll or something like that, but nice to get that. I bring my tank in here, go for a 7-6 attack, and you'll notice I'm getting aggressive here on this turn. So we talked about previously the last couple turns that I'm being defensive here. All these neo-tanks could come back, really provide a lot of destruction to my units in this area. But we'll see he's going even deeper into the attack than he was in the previous turn, right? So this neo-tank cannot come back within 1 turn. This neo-tank cannot come back within 1 turn. This neo-tank cannot come back to this area within 1 turn, which means that the only neo-tank that's actually really threatening anything was the one that was just built, which means I can go for a lot of engagements here because he only has 1 big attack, if you will. He only has 1 attack with a neo-tank that can do any real damage, and there's not much else that he can do to this position. So I go for a more aggressive stance here, putting everything basically in range of this neo-tank, get some nice hits here on the infantry to help clear them off. Defend this city here from getting flipped, bring in some more infantry, and I'm going for this kind of contested area here. I'm threatening this city flip, I'm threatening this city flip, I'm threatening this city flip. A lot of threats here that are going to make this attack on the single base a lot more punishing for Hudge if he does decide to go for it. Bring in my other units as well. I built another artillery. This wall of artillery is going to be very frustrating to deal with for Hudge, especially with trying to do it with tanks, right? They're just going to get hit back at some point, no matter where you drop them off. I move the black belt here in range. I'm actually going to be using this infantry here on the city that just finished the cap to go to the island, and then start getting some hits here. So let's see what I actually did. So I went for a full HP attack here, clearing off the 4 HP on the shoal, and then the 3 HP off the 2 HP artillery here on the plane. My main goal here, I believe, is going to be to bring this neo-tank here to clear off the artillery. There was some dangerous thoughts here of potentially getting this neo-tank trapped if I go for this attack, but I did calculate it, and I believe by putting these infantry here coming up, so we'll see that here, clear off the artillery, bring in the infantry. It's enough of a wall that no matter what he does, even if he gets a soft surround of the neo-tank on the next turn, I can clear it out and save the neo-tank from potentially any neo-tank or mega-tank built here by Hudge in the 2 corner bases. So bring my tank out here from the south to further threaten this area. I can also front shift up here to the north if I need to get involved in this attack, but also denying this cap. That's the main goal of it. And potentially getting myself in range to get this city as well. Move my infantry off the island. You'll notice that I did not keep my black boat there to ferry the infantry off the island. It's only 1 infantry, it's not going to super matter, and this black boat had bigger things to do. I bring my mega tank over here to sit on the city. These neo tanks are not really in range yet to cause a problem. They are in range of the base actually, but because I have the mega tank here, it's going to be in range to defend anything that I build, so it's not a huge deal. And I'm also applying more pressure over here towards the north as well. I do decide to build another mega tank and a battlecopter. Could have gone for, I don't know, actually I don't believe I had the money for Neo Tank Bomber, so this was the best build that I could do. But having another mega tank here, like I said, is going to be very helpful for defeating any threats that he's going to be putting on towards this single base. We see some more engagements here towards the city. This city is looking like it'll never get captured. We're just going to have a bunch of infantry engagements here. He's putting on more pressure towards this city, which is strong. I'm going to have to defend that in some way. He brings the infantry out to the island cities first. Starts trying to defend this area a bit more. We will notice here that he did get a free hit here with his Neo Tank on an infantry on the city. I wasn't defending that at all, so it's just kind of allowing him to have that, but it's honestly not the worst thing for me. This is kind of an important concept I want to talk about, which is that even if your units can get a free hit, like this Neo Tank got a free hit of an infantry on the city and was able to one-shot it, it's still not super worth it, right? Because this unit is 22k, it's a major part of his attack. Is he going to use it to help threaten this base? Like, what is the idea of this Neo Tank? And right now, it's just picking off 1k infantries. Like, it's not really doing anything. Even if I let it attack this infantry here on the city on the next turn, it's still not going to get any value, even though it's one tile away from the base, because it's not doing anything valuable, right? It's not hitting any tanks, it's not threatening anything, so it's just kind of being a waste of time. Yes, it allowed him to get this city flip, but that was kind of bad play on myself, right? I didn't put an infantry here on the forest like I should have to help prevent this a little bit further. So even though he's getting nice free hits here, I don't think this is actually the best play for this Neo Tank. He brings in the other Neo Tank, clearing off the tank on the shoals, and then this is a super smart play. So obviously this Neo Tank is in range of the rockets, but in order to deflect the rockets' attention and make it do something else, he instead goes ahead and repairs the infantry on the airport with this black boat. Super smart play, because now he can capture the airport on the next turn, putting it down to 5 HP, which means that I have to clear off the infantry with the rockets instead of going for the attack on the Neo Tank. So super smart there by Hudge, making sure he, one, had the money for that and still getting the builds that he wanted, and then spotting that as well. I don't believe I actually saw that when I was making my turn, but it didn't end up really, it cost me 1 7 HP tank, and I'm still going to get some hits with the artillery on this Neo Tank, so it's not the worst thing in the world. We do see a Neo Tank build here on the 2 base, so yes, there's more big units coming in now to attack the 1 base. The other really nice thing about these Neo Tanks for Hudge is that when you do eventually swap to Jess, that extra 2 movement is going to make these 8 movement Neo Tanks, which are going to be absolutely like the scariest units you could possibly have on the map. Much more scary than any 6 HP Mega Tanks, so I'm kind of relying on a really good Von Bolt phase here, because his Jess phase is going to be better than mine. I do use my rockets to fully clear off the infantry on the airport. Put this battlecopter here, only knocking 1 HP off the Neo Tank here on the city, and he's going to heal it back. So you might say, you know, like, what are you doing that for? It's not really accomplishing anything, and you're just hurting your own battlecopter. Yes, that's true, but I'm making him spend some money to repair, so that's kind of the upside there. And then also, I wanted to put this battlecopter here anyway, because it's going to be helping to interrupt any caps he's going to have on the island cities on the next turn. Get some more engagements here, fully clear off pretty much all the infantry he has in this area. Unfortunately, this infantry did go down to 9 HP, so I can't get a cap here within 2 turns, but I really am threatening within a couple turns here, both this city here, trying to flip it, and then trying to capture the neutral one here as well. Load in my infantry on the black boat here, dropping it off on the island. Bring some tanks towards the southern position. My idea here, you might think, is actually to help to attack this Neo Tank. That's not my idea. My idea here is going to be to send these units to the left on these next couple turns and really threaten his 1 base coming up here. With the other idea here with my Mega Tank is I'm going to send it to the right here, put some pressure on the 2 base, but also have it in bait position for the Ex Machina. Now is around the time with 3 bars left that you really need to start thinking about where the Ex Machina is going to land. If the Ex Machina lands here for me, that is absolutely terrible. I pretty much lose the game. I don't lose the game on the spot, but I pretty much lose the game on the spot, because there's going to be a bunch of dead artillery and dead tanks just sitting here on bad terrain. He's going to mop me up, clear off that whole area. So I got to make sure it doesn't hit there. And pretty much the main way I can do that is with this Mega Tank and Neo Tank. It's going to be way more value than anything here. And just putting this in range where he can't like sack units into it to redivert where the missile goes, and have that be kind of the decoy for the missile, if you will. So I bring out my other units here, get a bit more defensive again, because he did bring his Neo Tanks back to defend this area like I was talking about. He could do that at any time. But again, it's not the worst thing in the world for me. If I have to delay these flips a little bit, it's not going to be the end of the world. I do get a bomber out this turn, which means not only is he going to have to build an anti-air here, he probably is going to have to build an anti-air here, and then multiple, because obviously the bomber can kill anti-air if it gets the first hit. So really making it challenging for him. He does decide to go for the first strike here instead of capping on the island city. Brings in this Neo tank to get a hit on the infantry that I built on the base. Again, I don't really care because it's not doing any significant damage. Like, this infantry is not going to be doing anything for multiple turns. This Neo tank is kind of wasting its time, in my opinion. So I was totally fine with this hit. He does go ahead and get a nice hit here on the battlecopter here on the plane, but he is leaving himself within range of the bomber. Obviously, the anti-air is providing some defense there, but I do think that still may be a little bit questionable. He does repair his infantry here on the island, another cute maneuver to get some better engagements. Brings in his tank, uses this infantry to get a nice hit. Build some more Neo tanks up here in the north, and again putting in more pressure here, trying to go for the full flip of this city. So putting a lot of pressure on kind of the opposite corners here that we see. I'm putting pressure over here, he's putting pressure over here. We're going to see how we have to defend that. And then we get a bit more defensive, or a bit more attacking actually up here in the north for Hudge. He's bringing his other Neo tank in here. Again, I think trying to put pressure on the one base, and builds a anti-air on this base for the bomber. So we go here to my turn here on day 12, and I believe this is going to be a very impactful turn for me. Yes, so, sorry, a little spoiler before we go into this. So I am only 3 bars away from Ex Machina, and this Ex Machina is going to be very devastating for Hudge because the way he positioned his units, it's going to hit right here. It's going to hit both of the Neo tanks and the anti-air, and that's very important for me because it allows this bomber to get a hit on this Neo tank on the shoals pretty much for free because this anti-air is not in range if I attack from this tile. So I calc this whole thing out in the move planner to make sure I could get enough charge, and I do decide to go for it. I get the full hit here of the bomber on the shoals, bring in this infantry to just build some more charge, go for this attack here on bad engagement planes onto the missile to again build more charge. This is also going to allow me to divert his Ex Machina by bringing in my Mega Tank over here. So I use the battlecopter to kill off more infantry. Sacrifice again, just trying to build some charge here. That's all the purpose of all of these attacks. Get some hits in here as well. I would have liked to do these after the Ex Machina because it would have cleared off the infantry fully from the city, but I just didn't really have a bunch of engagements left without throwing away other stuff, other units. So I finished this off by just getting the final bit of charge here from the tank attack on the infantry, and I pop Ex Machina. Like we said, it's going to hit right here. Hits the Neo tanks, hits all the infantry, hits, importantly, not only the anti-air, but the anti-air on the base, so we can't even build a unit next turn. And now, like we talked about, this is going to be a very devastating attack. The rockets are going to go northward. All of the artillery are going to go northward. These Neo tanks are sitting ducks. They're dead. This Neo tank's going to come in and finish off any actual powerful units he might have in the area. And I have 1, 2, 3, 4, and then basically 5 healthy infantry that are going to get a bunch of flips here and potentially a flip on the base as well. So I start capturing over here on the right. This Mega Tank movement again is to bait out his Ex Machina. Bring in the Mega Tank, and this tank really threatening now the entire area and doing the idea that I was talking about earlier about bringing those units to the left here. Use the tank to clear off an infantry. This positioning of the artillery might seem a little bit weird, but it allows me to both threaten the Neo tank here on the city on the next turn and also potentially bring it over here to the left if this attack over here on my city, if he's going for that flip, becomes too dangerous or I just don't like what's happening. Bring in my other artillery to have good positioning. So this one can attack the Neo tank over here on the forest. This one can attack also the one on the city. Get one capture, one flip going myself, and bring in my other infantry to again potentially sit on his base on the next turn as well. Bring in my rockets. Now the rockets are going to have a much tougher journey than they had the first time. Yeah, I can only go as far as here on the next turn, and its movement was heavily limited by this forest on the previous turn. So won't have his good movement there. Do the same thing that he was doing in the island cities, just going for attacks and healing with my black boat. Pretty much no one's going to get this, but again, I'm pretty fine with that because I'm winning in other states on the board. Build another bomber, which means he's going to have to build even more anti-air. Really not a good position for him. And again, I don't care in the bottom right here. I'm just sending my infantry out and building another one. He can't clear it and sit another unit on it because he only has one unit in the area, so it's not a problem for me. Bring in some more tanks in this area too. This is the other idea here. Bring in tanks to this area so this infantry tries to come out and tries to get more flips while he's pestering with his Neo tank. He's not going to be able to do that, and I'll interrupt with those tanks. But we have day 12 here for Hudge, so he does go ahead and pop his Ex Machina. I do think so it does land here, but it's worth saying that if he did go for some attacks here to try to sack, I still don't believe it would have mattered. I put in enough units with the infantry in the area and the Mega Tanks that it would not have changed the position of where his Ex Machina had landed, and I made sure that my units were spread apart enough here as well. It was always going to hit this Mega Tank. So for any of you who thought that Hudge made a mistake there by trying, if he should have gone for some attacks before popping that Ex Machina. I did calc that again on my turn. So he does go for some free attacks here that I just gave him because I needed to get those damage in for the Ex Machina. Clears off the tank, clears off the Neo Tank. Again, it's not going to super matter. I don't really care about this area. Brings in his Neo Tank now. Finally, this Neo Tank is getting some good pressure. It can potentially attack the Mega Tank on the next turn. This Neo Tank comes in, gets a nice hit here on the medium tank I built on the city. The main purpose of having this medium tank was just doing exactly this, essentially to be a sponge, and to make sure that he cannot sit a unit on this. So I think he's gonna go for a luck roll here. So he knocks it down to 1 HP. This, I think he had a chance, like probably a 10 to 20% chance of finishing off the medium tank, which would have been pretty devastating because then he could have sat his anti-air on it. I do believe I could have cleared that on the next turn with my bomber, but would have been really annoying with what I wanted to do. So that's again why I built the medium tank, to give myself that 80% chance of surviving there, because I could not afford a Neo Tank. Goes for some more engagements here in the center island. It doesn't actually go for any caps here, which is, I think, good for me because I can redirect where these artillery are going. It doesn't super matter having a bunch of infantry in this area if there's no active caps going on. So he does clear out all of the medium tank here on the base, and by having all of these units in place here, especially the artillery, this base seems like it's under threat, but again, I can build a Mega Tank, and this is not going to be a real threat. Even with the artillery, even with the Neo Tank, it's not going to be able to clear off a Mega Tank on the city, or on the base. Yes, he's getting these city flips, but again, I don't super care because I'm getting my own city flips in the south, so income-wise, it's not going to really matter. So we go here to day 13 for myself, and we see... Oh, we don't even see the finishing off, or the final turns of here. Hudge, I think, actually just resigns on my turn, so I do go ahead and win the game. But if we look at the board state here, the game was pretty much over. This Mega Tank was going to come in, clear off the anti-air on the base. I'd bring in my own infantry here to sit and flip. This bomber would have come in and cleared off a Neo Tank. These artillery would have cleared off the Neo Tank, and then a tank hit. This tank is dead. Clear off an infantry with some of my other infantry in this area, and then sit the 1 HP probably on the on his base. If not the 1 HP, I probably would have sat the 4 HP tank on the base. So there was definitely ways here that I could have had a very punishing attack. Yeah, because this tank was in range as well, so he could have gotten some hits as well. I was absolutely sitting on his base this turn, so I do think it was a good resign by Hudge, especially because, again, I was going to build a Mega Tank on my own over here, so I was going to be essentially 5 bases to 3 bases up, and these city flips would not have mattered because I would have gotten my own coming up as well. So really good game here. Obviously, I do get the win. I do get the revenge match against Hudge. Really fun game as well, so GG's to Hudge. Obviously, a super strong player. I did just get that advantage in the opening by building the Black Boat, by going for both the airport capture myself and then denying his with the rockets. MVP of the match, obviously, these rockets really won me the game by making sure I didn't have to build any anti-air at any points. I think the other main reason I won this game is because I just had a better Ex Machina than Hudge did. I was planning it out for a while. He kind of allowed it to happen by hitting both these Neo Tanks and the anti-air on the base. That was a really tough situation for Hudge. And then obviously I baited mine out a bit better over here on the right side. But yeah, overall, really great game. I did go ahead, so this was actually the second match of the tournament of the Quack Cup 4. The third match of that tournament, I believe that was the group semifinals. So we have the groups and then the final bracket, so just the semifinals of the group. I played against Cygnus Y. I may cover that game eventually on the channel. You can go to the site right now and check in the tournaments if you want to have a spoiler of how that match ended, but eventually I may cover it. But this was a super fun game. Again, GG's to Hudge. With all that being said, thank you so much for watching, everybody. My name is MansaMusa, and remember, a Day 3 Black Boat is significantly better than a Day 5 Black Boat. Bye, guys.